Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we are doing a deep dive into something pretty massive, actually. The 2016 animated film, The Secret Life of Pets. You know, on the surface, just a cute movie, right?
Yeah.
Jack Russell Terrier, Max, his buddies, what they do all day. Funny stuff.
It was definitely funny and a huge hit. But when you start digging into the money and then the sort of ripple effects culturally, it stops being just a movie. It really becomes this like perfect window into how we see our pets today. It's this relationship that's, built on huge profits, but often ends up in, well, a pretty serious crisis.
Let's start with the money then, because these numbers are, frankly, kind of mind-blowing. The Secret Life of Pets, we'll call it SLOP4, it pulled in $885.3 million globally.
Right. And get this, the budget was only $75 million.
Wow.
Yeah. So that return, it made it the most profitable movie of 2016, period.
Mm-hmm.
Estimated net profit, nearly $375 million. That tells you something, doesn't it? The idea of loving our pets, it's one of the most bankable things out there.
And it wasn't a slow burn either. That success was immediate. Opening weekend in the U.S., $104.3 million.
Which is massive,
Yeah.
especially for something totally original, not a sequel, not based on a comic book or anything.
Right. It actually beat Pixar's Inside Out for the biggest opening for a completely original film.
And the thinking behind that, the analysis anyway, points to this idea of actual interest. They were comparing it to some of the big flops that summer, like Independence Day, Resurgence, or Alice Through the Looking Glass. Those relied on presumed interest.
Meaning people should want to see it because of the name, even if the movie itself looked.
Exactly. Whereas SLOP worked because people saw the trailers, the clips, and thought, yeah, that looks genuinely fun.
Okay, so the concept itself was just solid gold.
Totally bulletproof. You've got, 40% of the country owning pets. Target them, then add
Yeah.
basically everyone else who likes funny animal videos online. Huge audience. And universal elimination, they were smart. They just showed those little clips, mostly from the start of the movie, pets doing silly, relatable things at home.
Right, what they do when we're not looking thing.
Precisely. And that really cemented Illumination, Minions people as a major brand. Up there with Pixar and Marvel. They sold it as this completely harmless, feel-good family comedy.
Okay, so a harmless hit movie. But then it gets noticed by people who usually don't track cartoon dogs, financial analysts. And here's where it gets really interesting, connecting this movie profit machine to the actual economy.
Yeah, because analysts like Jim Cramer, they weren't just seeing box office numbers. They saw proof of a really powerful secular trend.
Okay, secular trend. For people not in finance, what does that mean exactly?
It's basically a big long-term shift in the economy, something that shapes spending habits for years, even decades, kind of regardless of whether the economy is up or down in the short term.
So the movie didn't create the trend, but it tapped into it perfectly and proved how strong it was.
That's it. And the trend is what they call the humanization of pets.
Treating pets like, well, like little furry humans, like family members.
Exactly, not just property. And if you see your dog or cat as basically your kid.
You're not going to cheap out on them.
Right, so that drives this massive demand for premium stuff. Organic food, advanced vet treatments, fancy toys, grooming. The whole 9 yards. And once analysts see a trend that powerful, they start looking where to invest.
Ah, okay. So companies related to pets suddenly look very attractive.
Definitely. It put companies like IDEXX, they do veterinary diagnostics, or even big food companies like Smucker's because they own pet food brands. It put them right in the spotlight for investors. So that feeling you have for your own pet, it's literally moving stock prices.
It's kind of wild when you put it like that. Billions generated by studios, by investors, all riding this wave of pet love. But that's only half the story, isn't it? This huge cultural love affair, it often breaks down. We have to talk about the other side, the broken bind, the stray dog crisis.
Yeah, the paradox is really stark. We have this culture, this economy built on valuing pets so highly, yet the actual human-dog relationship fails a lot. The global numbers are just staggering. There are maybe 400 million dogs worldwide. Best estimates. Half of them, 200 million, are homeless, strays.
200 million, that's hard to even picture.
Yeah.
And this often comes from abandonment, right? People giving up their pets, ending up in shelters.
Which leads to immense tragedy. Just in the U.S., something like 2 million dogs are euthanized in shelters every year.
So why? Why does this bond break so often, especially when we supposedly love them so much?
Well, researchers have looked at this across different countries, UK, US, Canada, Europe, and two big reasons keep coming up.
Okay, what's the first one?
Surprisingly, maybe, given that whole humanization trend, it's money. financial problems.
Really, more than anything else.
It's the #1 reason cited. In some studies, up to nearly 44% of relinquishments are because owners just can't afford the costs anymore. You know, the dream of the perfect pet, fueled by all those premium products and vet care expectations, it hits the reality of someone's bank balance.
That makes sense. And the second major reason.
Behavioral problems. Things like aggression, really bad separation anxiety, messing in the house, destroying things, escaping, the dog just being difficult.
The reality of owning an animal versus the idealized version.
Exactly. And here's a crucial point. Dogs with anxiety issues are much more likely to be given up. Why? Because dealing with those problems takes a lot more time, patience, and often money for training or treatment. So the high expectations, maybe set partly by media, clash with the complex reality of an individual animal, and the owner gives up. The relationship breaks.
And when that happens, when the bond breaks and the dog is abandoned, the consequences are just awful. For the dog, obviously, but also for communities.
Oh, absolutely. It creates huge public health issues, social problems, economic costs, even ecological ones. The life of a stray dog is typically brutal and short.
What are the biggest dangers they face out there?
Well, first off, there's zero preventive medicine, no vaccines, no parasite control, so they become reservoirs for diseases.
Diseases that can spread to other pets and even to people, right? Zoonosis.
Yes. The risk from parasites alone is huge. We saw data from Brazil in some stray populations, almost 96% had hookworm, ticks, sometimes 100% prevalence.
That's incredible.
And they carry serious zoonotic diseases too, things like Ehrlichia, Leishmania, which can infect humans. Because they live near us, unmanaged, they spread these pathogens.
And it's not just disease, is it? Physical danger, too.
Massive physical trauma. Getting hit by cars is incredibly common. One study in Nigeria found vehicle accidents caused 2/3 of all fractures in stray dogs they looked at.
Oh, that's grim.
And the injuries are often horrific, bones sticking out, terrible burns from being dragged.
Yeah.
And usually no vet care follows.
And just the sheer environmental impact. You mentioned waste contamination.
Yeah, think about the scale. That estimate for Bosnia and Herzegovina, over 20,000 strays producing almost 11,000 kilos of feces daily.
Wow.
And over 13,000 liters of urine every day. If those dogs aren't dewormed or vaccinated, that's just a massive load of pathogens being spread into the environment. The whole crisis really stems from failed ownership, failed management.
Which brings us right back around, doesn't it? Back to the media, back to movies like SLOP. If these films fuel the humanization trend, are they also, maybe unintentionally, setting up these unrealistic expectations that lead to abandonment?
There's research that strongly suggests, yeah, they are. One really interesting study looked at films going way back, from 1930 to 2004, and they found a clear link. How dogs were shown on screen directly impacted breed registrations with the American Kennel Club, sometimes for up to 5 years later.
Okay, so how dogs are portrayed actually influences what breeds people buy.
Significantly, they identified what they called the hero effect.
The hero effect.
Yeah. When a dog in a movie is portrayed as, super brave, strong, incredibly loyal, saving the day, maybe even avenging someone.
Think Lassie or Rin Tin Tin, maybe.
Exactly. Those kinds of portrayals, they cause a big, measurable spike in popularity for that specific breed.
But there's a danger there, isn't there?
A huge danger, because the study points out that these hero movies often romanticize behaviors that are actually signs of distress in a real dog. Like severe separation anxiety might be shown on screen as beautiful, touching devotion. Oh, he just misses his owner so much.
When in reality, it's a serious welfare issue for the dog and a major headache for the owner.
Precisely. And then there was this other finding, kind of the opposite effect, which was really surprising.
What was that?
They looked at dogs that were heavily anthropomorphized, given really human-like qualities, talking, reading, maybe being shown as unrealistically easy to care for.
Okay. So you'd think that would make them popular, too.
Right. But no, those breeds actually saw a significant drop in registrations after those portrayals.
Huh. Why would that be?
The researchers guessed that maybe seeing dogs try and fail to act perfectly human might actually highlight their dogness, their imperfection at human tasks. And maybe that puts some people off who want a more traditional pet.
Interesting. But the bigger risk seems to be with that hero dog narrative.
Definitely. Because it sets this impossible standard. People go out and get a German Shepherd or Dalmatian breeds, often shown as heroes because they saw one in a movie. But these breeds, in reality, often have high rates of behaviors that owners find difficult, the very things like high energy, protectiveness, maybe tipping into aggression, that lead people to give them up.
So the movie creates the dream, but it doesn't include the instruction manual for the real dog.
You got it. People get the ideal, the fantasy, without understanding the huge commitment, time, money, training, emotional energy needed for the actual complex animal standing in front of them.
So what does this all mean? It's quite a journey. We went from a blockbuster cartoon fueling billions in spending to a global crisis of 200 million homeless dogs, partly driven by the fallout from those same kinds of stories. Let's talk about what we can actually do. What are the solutions here?
Okay. Well, first, it's important to know what doesn't work in the long run. Some places have tried mass culling, eradication methods like using sanitary rifles in parts of India. The World Health Organization, other experts, they're very clear. That kind of approach doesn't solve the underlying problem of overpopulation and abandonment. It's not effective or sustainable.
Right. So what does work?
It has to be a combination of things working together, a multi-pronged strategy, as they say, that includes large-scale reproductive control, meaning spaying and neutering campaigns. Those can cut birth rates significantly, maybe 15–30%. It also needs proper laws, things like mandatory registration for dogs, maybe microchipping, and better control over dogs roaming freely.
Okay, sterilization, legislation, what else?
The big one, the one considered maybe the most vital long-term solution globally, is education. Owner-centered education.
Getting people to understand what they're really signing up for before they get the dog.
Exactly. Making sure potential owners truly recognize the commitment. We're talking 10, 15 years sometimes, the time involved, the financial cost, the need for training and socialization.
And how do you get that education across effectively? People get bombarded with information.
Well, the sources we looked at really highlight one key professional, the veterinarian.
Ah, the vet. Makes sense.
Yeah, people tend to trust health professionals. They're more likely to really absorb information about proper care, nutrition, health management, realistic behavior expectations when it comes from their vet, maybe more than just reading a pamphlet or a website. So vets are crucial in bridging that gap between the dream pet and the real responsibilities, helping owners understand before the bond potentially breaks down.
So we started with The Secret Life of Pets, this movie that made nearly $1 billion by tapping into how much we adore our animals, fueling this trend where we spare no expense. And we've ended up looking at the tragic reality for 200 million dogs worldwide, suffering partly because of the high costs and the impossible expectations that some of that same media helps create.
It's a really powerful illustration, isn't it? How culture can both celebrate something and at the same time contribute to a crisis around it. You know, historically, there was this interesting shift in movies. Pedigree dogs often represented tradition, the status quo. Then mixed breeds started appearing more, sometimes symbolizing social change or critique.
That's interesting. So thinking about today, considering how incredibly powerful that dog hero story still is, how much it clearly drives people's buying choices, how do you think this ongoing cycle, this obsession with the movie hero dog, is going to shape the future? What challenges will it keep creating for shelters, for rescue organizations in the years ahead?
That's the really provocative question, isn't it? Something definitely for you, the listener, to mull over next time you see that four-legged hero saving the day on screen.